My name is Lena Ward, and I'm 30 years old. If you'd asked me a month ago, I would have told you I was living my quiet version of a happy ending. I had a stable job, a small apartment with too many houseplants, and a fiancé who promised to make every morning feel like spring. His name was Ethan Parker, charming, steady, and, until recently, the only man whose voice could calm me in a storm. We'd been together for a year. Our engagement was small, intimate, just family and a few friends gathered in his parents' backyard with barbecue smoke curling through the air. His mother, Caroline, had smiled that day, the kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. She said, "You're lucky, Lena. My son has high standards." I'd laughed politely, too naive to hear the venom under the compliment. For a while, things seemed perfect, until one Sunday afternoon when perfection shattered with the sound of his voice. "Lena," he said, phone shaking in his hand, "we need to talk." He showed me a series of photos, grainy, zoomed-in images of me leaving a restaurant with another man. A coworker, lunch break, bright sunlight, nothing secret, nothing romantic. "I can explain," I said softly. "That's David from accounting. We were discussing the quarterly audit." But Ethan's eyes were already storming. "My mom warned me," he hissed. "She said you were the type." "The type?" "The kind that plays innocent until she gets caught." My chest tightened. "Ethan, please, look at the timestamps. Look at the messages. I have nothing to hide." He didn't look. He didn't want to. Because standing behind him in the doorway was Caroline Parker, arms crossed, lips curved in triumph. "I told you," she said to him. "She's been seen around town with men. I tried to save you the heartbreak." Before I could speak, the front door burst open. Robert, his father, and Gavin and Luke, his brothers, stormed in like soldiers responding to a call to arms. "You used my brother," Gavin growled. "You humiliated our family." "Wait, please, listen." But they didn't. Robert's voice thundered. "You think you can play with our son's heart and walk away smiling?" "I didn't cheat," I shouted. "I didn't—" The slap of chaos came faster than thought. Gavin lunged first. Someone grabbed my arm. Another shoved me backward. I heard a lamp crash, glass shatter, a voice screaming, "Not theirs, mine." When it was over, I was on the floor, bruised and bleeding, clutching my ribs while Caroline watched with a satisfied calm. "Get out," she said coldly, "and don't come near my son again." Ethan stood by the doorway, frozen, silent, a man who suddenly looked like a stranger. "You believe this?" I whispered. He didn't answer. "You were supposed to know me," I said. "1 year, Ethan. 1 year and you can't even look me in the eye." His silence was answer enough. When they left, the apartment smelled like fear and broken trust. I crawled to my phone, fingers trembling, and called 911. At the hospital, under harsh fluorescent lights, the doctor gently cleaned the cuts on my cheek. "Do you want to file a report?" he asked. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I thought of Caroline's smirk, Ethan's silence, the taste of blood and betrayal. "Yes," I said, "I want to press charges." The officers arrived within an hour. They photographed my bruises, took my statement, and handed me a case number. "You did the right thing," one said quietly. But that night, staring at the sterile white ceiling of my hospital room, I wondered if there even was a right thing. How do you protect yourself from people you once called family? The next morning, I called my friend Naomi Chen, an attorney I trusted like a sister. She listened without interruption as I recounted everything. When I finished, she said only one thing. "Lena, something about this feels off. Too coordinated, too clean. Someone wanted you destroyed." I didn't know it yet, but Naomi was right. The photos weren't random. The attack wasn't spontaneous. And the truth was far darker than betrayal. The bruises faded before the nightmares did. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces. Caroline's quiet smirk, Ethan's blank stare, the blur of fists and shouting. The police took my statement, but weeks passed in silence. No arrests yet, no calls, just paperwork and echoes. Then one evening, as I sat staring at the muted TV, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Ms. Ward?" a man's voice said, hesitant. "My name is Thomas Parker, Ethan's uncle." I froze. "What do you want?" "I think you deserve to know what really happened." We met the next night at a diner off the highway, one of those half-empty places that smells like coffee and old secrets. Thomas looked uneasy, his hands trembling around a chipped mug. "I don't expect forgiveness from my family," he began. "But what they did to you, what my sister-in-law did, it wasn't an accident." My pulse quickened. "Go on." He slid a small flash drive across the table. "Your photos, the ones they used to accuse you, Caroline arranged them." My mouth went dry. She hired a private investigator through a friend, Thomas continued, paid him to follow you, snap vague shots, make it look like you were seeing someone else. She needed proof you weren't worthy of Ethan. She wanted him with someone wealthier, the daughter of a business partner, I think. She told everyone it was for his future. I stared at the drive. You have evidence? He nodded. Text messages between her and that investigator. Emails where she bragged about what she'd done. I intercepted them by accident. She used my old email thread by mistake. I leaned back, numb. Why are you telling me this? Thomas's eyes glistened. Because I watched a good woman get destroyed for no reason. And because my nephew needs to see the truth, even if it ruins the rest of them. I gripped the drive like it was oxygen. Thank you, I whispered. He reached across the table, voice breaking. Just promise me you'll use it right. They'll deny everything. Caroline always does. That night, I didn't sleep. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop and watched the evidence unfold line by line. Messages, receipts, instructions. Caroline's words cut like acid. She's too plain, too small town. Ethan deserves better. Make sure the photos look suggestive. He won't question if it hurts. Once she's gone, I can push him toward Madison's daughter. Better prospects. I closed the screen, bile rising in my throat. For days, I'd replayed the assault like maybe I'd missed something. Some sign, some trigger that justified what happened. But there was nothing. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'd just loved the wrong man with the wrong mother. The next morning, I called Naomi. She answered on the first ring. Tell me you slept, she said. I didn't, I replied, but I found what we needed. I told her everything. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. Lena, this changes everything. We're not just talking assault anymore. This is conspiracy, defamation, premeditation. We met at her office downtown. She examined the evidence, brows furrowed, lips pressed tight. We'll go to the police with this, she said, and we'll make sure it sticks. When we arrived at this precinct, the detective who'd taken my case looked up, startled. You again? I handed him the folder Naomi had prepared. Photos, text logs, timelines. His eyebrows shot up halfway through the first page. Where did you get all this? From someone who finally grew a conscience, Naomi said. The detective nodded. This connects everything. The attack, the fake photos, the motive. We'll reopen this immediately. As we left, Naomi turned to me. They're not just guilty of assault, Lena. They planned this. Caroline wanted you gone, and she used her sons to make it happen. The words hung heavy between us. 2 days later, Ethan called. Lena, he said softly, can we talk? I almost hung up, but curiosity, dangerous, stupid curiosity, made me stay. What could you possibly have to say to me? I didn't know, he said. About the photos. About my mom. I swear I didn't. I laughed bitterly. You didn't want to know. There was silence on the line, then his voice cracked. She told me she saw you with another man. She showed me those pictures. She said she'd hire someone to prove it if I didn't end things. I thought she was protecting me. And now? Now I know she destroyed everything. I wanted to scream, you helped her, but instead I said, you believed a lie and watched them beat me. I froze. I didn't. Stop. My voice was steady now. I don't care what you thought. You stood there while they hurt me. That's not confusion, Ethan. That's cowardice. He didn't answer. I'm taking this to court, I said finally. Your mother, your brothers, everyone involved. Lena, please, if you do this, they'll face consequences, I interrupted, for once. By the weekend, the police had issued subpoenas. Naomi kept me updated. Caroline was under investigation for criminal conspiracy and defamation. Robert, Gavin, and Luke for aggravated assault. That night, I got another call. Caroline's number flashing across my screen. I didn't pick up. A minute later, a voicemail appeared. Her voice was calm, syrup sweet, like venom wrapped in sugar. Lena, dear, she said. We all make mistakes. Why don't we talk before this gets uglier? I deleted it, then blocked her number, because by then I wasn't afraid anymore. The truth had a voice, and it finally sounded like mine. The courthouse hallway was colder than I expected. Pale light spilling through tall windows, voices echoing off marble floors like ghosts that refused to rest. I stood with Naomi, my lawyer and anchor through the storm, clutching the evidence folder so tightly my knuckles went white. Naomi touched my arm. Breathe, Lena. They're not here to intimidate you. They're here because they broke the law. I nodded, but my pulse betrayed me. Somewhere beyond those doors sat Ethan's family, the same people who had called me a liar, a homewrecker, a disgrace. The same hands that left bruises on my skin now folded in prayer, begging for leniency. When the bailiff opened the doors, the room fell silent. Caroline Parker sat at the defense table, her pearl earrings catching the light like tiny spotlights on deceit. Robert, rigid beside her, stared straight ahead. Gavin and Luke leaned back, restless, whispering to each other. And Ethan, my former fiancé, sat behind them, his eyes downcast, as if ashamed to exist in the same air as me. The judge entered, gavel striking wood. This court is now in session. Naomi rose first. Your Honor, the state presents overwhelming evidence of assault, conspiracy, and defamation against my client, Ms. Lena Ward. What began as a fabricated story of infidelity escalated into physical violence orchestrated by the defendants. The judge nodded. Proceed. Naomi clicked a remote. The screen lit up with the text messages Thomas had given us. Caroline's words scrolled in black and white for everyone to see. Make sure the photos look incriminating. Ethan's too soft. He'll believe what hurts most. Once she's out, I'll introduce him to Madison's daughter. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Caroline's lips pressed into a hard, bloodless line. Naomi continued, her tone calm, surgical. Caroline Parker not only fabricated evidence, she weaponized her family's loyalty to carry out an attack. She instructed her husband and sons to confront Ms. Ward, fully aware that confrontation would turn violent. The prosecutor handed the judge a photo. The hospital images of my face, bruised and swollen. The silence deepened, thick enough to suffocate. Your Honor, Naomi said, voice softening, Ms. Ward nearly lost consciousness that night. She was beaten in her own living room, over lies. The judge turned toward the defense. Mrs. Parker, how do you respond to these allegations? Caroline stood slowly, every inch the picture of grace twisted into pride. Your Honor, I was only trying to protect my son. The girl, Ms. Ward, was deceiving him. I might have overreacted. Naomi stepped forward. Overreacted? You orchestrated an assault. Caroline's lawyer tried to object, but the judge raised a hand. Sit down. Mrs. Parker, were these messages sent by you? They were private family discussions. Were they yours? The judge repeated. Caroline's jaw tightened. Yes. The judge scribbled something in her notes. Continue. Then Naomi called Thomas Parker to the stand. He looked uncomfortable but resolute, holding a folder like it might burn him. Mr. Parker, Naomi said, why did you come forward? He hesitated, glancing toward his family. Because I couldn't watch them ruin another life. Caroline's been doing this for years. Controlling, manipulating, lying to get her way. This time it went too far. Did you provide Ms. Ward with the messages and evidence of this scheme? Yes. And were you threatened for doing so? A long pause. Yes, he said quietly. By my own brother. Robert's head dropped, shame spreading across his face. Naomi nodded. No further questions. When Thomas stepped down, Ethan finally looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time since that night. His lips parted, but I didn't return the gaze. Because this wasn't about him anymore. This was about me. By afternoon, the evidence had built an unshakable wall. The assault photos, the text messages, the police report, the doctor's statement. Then came my turn to testify. I stood, palms damp, and faced the court. I didn't want revenge, I began. I wanted peace. But peace doesn't grow in lies. My voice trembled once. I steadied it. I loved Ethan. I loved his family. I thought I was marrying into a home that valued kindness. Instead, I walked into a war I never started. They didn't ask for truth. They chose violence. They wanted to break me, and for a moment they did. The courtroom stayed silent. But I'm still here, I said, voice stronger now. And today, I'm not the victim they made me out to be. I'm the evidence of what happens when the truth refuses to stay buried. When I sat down, Naomi squeezed my hand. Perfect, she whispered. 2 hours later, the verdict came. Guilty, all counts. Caroline Parker, 18 months in state prison for conspiracy and defamation. Robert, Gavin, and Luke, 2 years for aggravated assault. The gavel fell one last time. The sound echoed like closure. Caroline's composure cracked for the first time. This is injustice, she shouted as officers escorted her out. I did it for my son. The judge didn't even look up. And now you'll pay for it, Mrs. Parker. Ethan followed them to the door, but stopped halfway. His shoulders sagged, his voice barely a whisper. Lena, I'm sorry. I turned toward him, calm. So am I said. Sorry you didn't see who your mother really was, until it was too late. Then I walked out, sunlight spilling across the courthouse steps like a benediction. Naomi joined me, handing me a cup of coffee.
You did it, she said.
No, I murmured, watching the blue sky stretch open. The truth did. Months later, I received a letter from Thomas. He said Ethan had moved out of town, trying to start over. Caroline was serving her sentence quietly, though still blaming me in her letters. Robert had stopped visiting her altogether. I folded the letter and set it aside. I wasn't angry anymore, just free. Because justice doesn't erase pain, it replaces it with meaning. And sometimes that's enough.